The perfect winger for Amorims' style is found, and Man United are already digging into Dortmund's pockets. Perez is considering selling part of the club, and the reasons are far from obvious. PSG are coming for Julian Alvarez, and this already puts Atletico in a tough spot. And Jadon Sancho seems to have decided it all, meaning Turkey a new club and a move that is no longer hidden. We're covering all that and more in today's video. Guys, let's try and hit 350 thumbs up on this one. Your support helps us make even better content for you. Let's get right into the latest transfer gossip. Florentino Perez has once again decided to prove that his real talent isn't in negotiating with agents, but in engineering. Not sporting engineering, but financial. The Real Madrid president has announced the launch of one of the most ambitious corporate reforms in the club's history. The goal is simple and cynical: to bring in serious money, but without giving anyone even a theoretical chance of taking control of the club away from the Madridistas. Perez plans to sell around 10% of a new commercial company. Not the club, not the first team, just the structure that will handle all the commercial stuff. The stadium, sponsorships, marketing rights, events. This is a follow-up to a deal we've already seen, when Real sold 20% of the future profits from the Santiago Bernabeu to 6th Street and Legends for 360 million euros. That deal was the first lever. Now they're pulling a second one, but this one is more refined. At an internal assembly, Perez didn't speak like a man who's about to squeeze every last euro out of the Bernabeu. He spoke like a guardian of tradition. We must protect the club as an institution and protect all of us as the owners of Real Madrid. The president has been eyeing the German 50+1 model for a long time, but there's a small problem. In Spain, that kind of setup is not even theoretically possible, so Madrid are going their own way. They're developing a system of subsidiary companies where they can bring in investors, but without giving them any influence over the sport. They've already created Real Madrid Estadio SL, the company that manages the operations around the Bernabeu. The idea is simple: let investors buy a stake in the business that makes money, manages the stadium, runs events, and gets sponsors. But the sporting side will remain 100% in the hands of the club members, the team, the academy, decisions on the coach, transfers, all of it stays with the Madridistas. You can accuse Perez of anything, but he has perfect timing. The renovation costs for the Santiago Bernabeu have ballooned to 1,347 million euros, up from the original 575 million euros. The club needs fresh cash, so the sale of 10% of the commercial company isn't a whim or an attempt to make the club more market-friendly. It's a strategic move to ensure that Real Madrid remains a club owned by its members, but with the capabilities of a modern business. Perez is once again trying to walk a fine line, taking big money without giving up a single drop of control. In his world, that's called protecting the club. In the rest of the world, it's magic from the financial big leagues. Manchester United are looking towards the Bundesliga again, and this time the focus is on Karim Adeyemi. The 23-year-old Borussia Dortmund winger is rated at £60 million, and per Football Insider, he is the #1 target for the Mancunians this January. The question is simply, will the club risk splashing that cash this winter? Or will they choose to hold off until summer? By the way, unlike United, you do not need to hunt for £60 million to do something useful. Subscribing to this channel is totally free. I see from the analytics that lots of you watch every video but do not hit the button. Maybe you are waiting for the Glazers to sign it off? Don't wait, subscribe. Now it is cheaper than the Adeyemi transfer. Adeyemi is not just another young prospect. He is one of the most explosive wide players in Europe, bringing pace, technique, and improvisation. This season, he has 3 goals and 3 assists in 14 games, even though Borussia themselves do not always look like a side able to unlock their attackers' potential. Karim's deal lasts until 2027, but Dortmund have long lived by the rule that when a star hits peak value, they get sold. And Adeyemi could easily be next in line. Dortmund, though, are not planning to surrender. The club offered him a new deal, raising his wages from 5.7 million euros to 7.2 million euros a year. But the striker's agent Jorge Mendes wants more. The main sticking point is, he demands a release clause in the agreement, and Borussia are totally against it. They have a strict policy that young assets who can be sold for profit do not get buyouts. And right now, this issue is choking the talks. While things are stuck, Mendes has already begun chatting with top Prem clubs. and Manchester United are officially among those in the conversation. If the contract with the Germans is never renewed, the club will be forced to sell Adeyemi in summer 2026 to avoid getting peanuts for him a year later. So £60 million right now looks a very tasty price for any big club wanting to fix their wing for years ahead. On one side, United are impressed by his growth and want to sign the lad in January. On the other, pulling him out of Signal Iduna Park in winter will be a task like signing Haaland for a bottle of water. Dortmund do not want to lose the winger mid-season and are doing all they can to keep him at least until summer. But there is a catch, as Borussia's refusal of a clause might backfire on them. If the conflict drags on, Adeyemi might well decide to leave this very summer or even in winter if someone puts a properly serious offer on the table. Adeyemi's future is now wide open. Karim and his team are keeping every option on the table, including a potential switch in January. The Premier League is on the brink of winter madness again. 4 top clubs are thinking of triggering Antoine Semenyo's release clause. All this comes after a curious detail in his contract emerged. According to Ekrem Koner, as early as January, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, and Tottenham are ready to simply arrive with a suitcase containing £65 million and take the Ghanaian without any extra talks. Semenyo added fuel to the fire himself. 6 goals and 3 assists in 11 PL matches is a stat line for a player usually worth far more than his clause. Plus, Ghana isn't going to AFCON, meaning no one loses him for a month in winter. For clubs needing a versatile attacker right here and right now, it is basically a gift. In the summer, he extended his deal with Bournemouth until 2030, but David Ornstein revealed a nuance. The agreement has a £65 million clause that kicks in specifically in January. The irony is that in summer, it might drop lower, so Bournemouth are effectively tied up right now. Whoever pays first is the one who gets the player. Each contender follows their own logic. Liverpool planned to boost their left flank even before the window opened. Tottenham have long sought a top-level winger. United have been watching Semenyo for months. City want fresh energy out wide to shake up their attack. It is this quartet that is actively looking to pay the clause in the winter window. In the coming weeks, Arsenal and Chelsea might burst in, but for now their interest is just theory. The real race involves Liverpool, City, United, and Spurs. Bournemouth would love to keep their star longer, but when 4 Big Six clubs stand behind your player, keeping him is a task like trying to convince a card terminal not to take a payment. Jadon Sancho is once again looking for a way out of his own career maze. After being thrown into Ruben Amorim's bomb squad in the summer, he went on loan to Aston Villa, a place where you'd think he could quietly get a reset. But even under Unai Emery, the Englishman hasn't found any rhythm or trust. Just 3 starts, 8 games this season, 0 goals, 0 assists, stats that make you want to hide under a table. According to Caught Offside, during the November break, Sancho and his entourage quietly popped up in Istanbul. He was spotted in a luxury hotel where talks were held with 3 Turkish clubs at once: Fenerbahce, Beşiktaş, and Galatasaray. Each club laid out their project, his future role, their vision, the full works. To make a move happen, Sancho is ready to slash his wages by almost half. Instead of his current €15 million gross, he'd take around 8. For a guy who can't even lock down a spot at Villa, that's a sensible step, to put it mildly, especially since his priorities are different now. A regular starting spot, European football, and most importantly, a straight conversation with the manager. Not this constant guessing game of what's my role today. Interest from Italy, Spain, Germany, England, and even Saudi Arabia hasn't disappeared, but the clubs quickly formed a queue for the exit. The wages plus potential transfer fee package is still too heavy, but the Turkish giants are a different story. They've got the money and their squads are strong enough to meet the winger's demands. Right now, Galatasaray and Fenerbahce are being called the front-runners. For the Turkish league itself, a transfer like this would be a gift they could shout about from the rooftops. Sancho, fallen from the English sky, arriving for a new chapter in his career. And it works for the winger too. Status, minutes, European football. Aston Villa are currently paying 80% of his wages and there's no mandatory buyout in the loan. But if something changes in Sancho's game by the end of the season, the Brummies will be the first to try and get a deal done in the summer. Sancho's contract with Manchester United runs until 2026. but it's not a given. He'll see that date out in Manchester. Turkey has already rolled out the red carpet. And now the question is just one thing. Who of the three will offer the project where Sancho finally stops being a shadow of his former self? Paris Saint-Germain are after Julian Alvarez again. As if there are no other strikers in Europe, Luis Enrique is convinced. The Argentinian is the missing piece of the puzzle that will turn his team from just rich into a genuinely predatory side. A versatile number 9 who can play as an out-and-out striker or as a second forward dropping deep is a rarity, even in today's market. Friends, let's take a quick pause so you can hit like or dislike on this video. Any reaction is important. Thank you for your engagement. It really helps the channel. According to the latest reports, Alvarez's name is back at the top of PSG's shortlist. And crucially, in Paris, they're convinced the door is now open a little wider than ever before. The reason is simple. The player himself confirmed in an interview with L'Équipe that he was in serious talks with the Parisians in the summer of 2024. He chose Atletico, but PSG's interest never went away. What's more, Alvarez is open to a move to Ligue 1 and isn't thinking about a return to the Premier League at all, despite offers from England. But of course, there's always the one who knows how to crush any dreams: Atletico. The Madrid club values the 25-year-old Argentinian at 120 million euros. In Paris, they think that price tag is a bit optimistic, not to say cheeky. Agreeing terms with the player will be easy, but talks with Atletico could drag on for a lot longer. Alvarez moved to Atletico for 75 million euros and got the main thing he went for: a starting spot every week, and he's paying it back in spades. 29 goals and 8 assists in his first full season, and already 9+4 in 15 games this season. Versatility, pressing, a killer instinct. No wonder he's in the headlines every day, especially with the rumors about Barcelona. At the same time, Julian himself isn't pushing for a move. He's comfortable in Spain, he respects the club, he has a contract until 2030, and Atletico don't just let anyone walk out, especially in the winter. But he's not closing the door either. The talks with PSG were real, and the idea of Paris isn't foreign to him. The only problem is that real possibilities and interest are two different things. PSG can make inquiries, they can talk, they can even make plans, but it all comes down to Madrid. And for now, it seems the journalists have jumped the gun. Yes, Alvarez is the perfect candidate, but the door is only open a crack, and trying to kick it down in January is a task on the level of bothering Simeone when he's in a bad mood. That said, Paris loves the impossible. The only question is how much Enrique's dream of the perfect number 9 will cost this time.